What's going on, horror fanatics? Welcome to I Shot Him 6 Times YouTube horror movie channel. As you know, I'm your host Marcus. Please be sure to shoot that like button, subscribe to the channel, so also shoot that notification icon so you get all the latest content updates to the channel. In this video, I'm going to talk about the recently released set photos from Saw 10, where we get a first look of Tobinbell on set, as well as another character who could possibly have ties to another sequel from the Saw franchise. But before I get into it, let's hit that intro.
You are now watching I Shot Him 6 Times YouTube horror movie channel.
I shot him 6 times! Okay, everyone, so in an article published by Jeremy Dick of MovieWeb, he goes on to share a set photo from Saw 10 of Tobinbell as John Kramer. He's seen sitting on a bench talking to a young boy. Seems like he's out in public at a park somewhere. And before we get into the set photo and I, go over what I see in the set photo, I'm going to read Jeremy's article. So let's get into the article here, and then obviously I'm going to pull up the set photo and we're going to dig into it and see what's going on. A new photo has been shared from the set of Saw 10, aka Saw X as it's also being referred to, and it includes the return of a major character. It was previously revealed that Tobinbell would appear in the 10 film to reprise his role as John Kramer, the mastermind behind the jigsaw experiments. How he'll be worked into the story remains to be seen, considering the character has been long dead in the Saw universe, but you can catch a sneak peek at his return by checking out the set photo floating around on social media. The image reveals Jigsaw / John Kramer dressed in dark clothing and seated on a park bench with some kind of book in hand. He's speaking with a young boy, though there's no way of knowing what the two are talking about in the scene at this time. With Kramer deceased, it seems most likely that the scene will be for a flashback sequence, as has been seen from Bell in some of the other sequels following Jigsaw's demise in Saw 3. You are not done seeing Tobinbell at all, Spiral director Darren Lynn Bousman said last year of Jigsaw's return via Bloody Disgusting, also revealing plans to flesh out an MCU-style Sawverse. You might see a TV series, so I think you'll be seeing the Marvel-verse of the Saw franchise, where there are different storylines taking place. And I think that's what it's going to be. It'll exist in the same universe, and there will be different storylines taking place. Okay, everyone. So as we see in the set photo here, we see John Kramer sitting on the bench, like Jeremy said in the article, holding a book. I want to assume that this book could be about his cancer. We have to keep in mind, after this was greenlit, right after Spiral came out, there was some interesting comments made by a producer. I forget the producer's name. It was really early article about Saw X, and he went on to say that this movie is set to take place between Saw 1 and Saw 2. Well, with that being said, because Jeremy said something about how he felt in Jeremy's article, he said how he felt that this would be a flashback scene, and it could very well be a flashback scene. We've had plenty of those with John Kramer in the Saw franchise. However, with the producers saying that, this movie will be set between Saw 1 and Saw 2 in terms of timeline-wise, well, then that throws the flashback theory out of the window, in my opinion, for the simple fact is that John Kramer is alive in that timeline. And if you really look at him in his set photo, he looks like, he obviously would still be battling his cancer, but he doesn't look deathly sick to the point of immobilization like he looked in Saw 2. He looked like he's still getting around. He looked like he's still being able to go places, and, he still looks somewhat, obviously he's not, I don't want to say healthy, but he looks competent. He looks like he can do things. He doesn't look like he's, damn near on his deathbed like he did in Saw 2. He looks like he's still very active. So that's something to obviously pay attention in this set photo. And I don't think that this is a flashback scene. This is just me, I don't think this is a flashback scene. I think that this is actually going to be a real time. I think this is going to be. I don't think a lot of these scenes with Tobin Bell are going to be flashbacks. I think that this is going to be an actual setting between Saw 1 and Saw 2, and this is going to be taking on an entirely new story, possibly before the events of Dr. Gordon and Adam's game and after the events of Logan's game. That's what my hunch tells me. Now, obviously we see John Kramer talking to this young man here. Who could this young man be? Obviously, he could just be some random young man walking by. It looks like they're in some type of park setting, so some type of public place where you see a lot of people just walking by. But I have a hunch that this could be William Schenk. Yes, William Schenk. If you know who William Schenk is, if you watch the Spiral movie, he is the antagonist at the end of the movie. We find out he is the new copycat jigsaw killer. Now, the reason why I believe this could be William Schenk is because there's a lot of unanswered questions that we need on this character from the Spiral movie. How did he know about the traps? Who could possibly be helping him? I've said it in previous videos that I've done on, William Schenk and on, just Spiral and Saw, that I don't believe he acted alone. And that you got to keep this in mind as well, is that at the end of Saw 7, when Dr. Gordon, traps Detective Hoffman, we don't know who those other two assailants are with him. We don't know who those other two people are under the pig face masks that are helping Dr. Gordon. And with the story that we got in Spiral, we know for a fact that somehow Schenk knows about the traps. Now, this is another thing I want you guys to pay attention to. And if you go back and watch Spiral, go pay attention to the dialogue at the end of the movie where Schenk is talking about John Kramer. He says, John Kramer was right. Spiral, the symbol of change, evolution, and progress. Now, why that line is so important, in my opinion, right now, especially for this scene, for this, set photo, is that sounds like somebody who got that line off of John Kramer, like in a conversation in person. That does not sound like a line that he got from the newspapers about John Kramer or anything. That sounds like somebody who heard John Kramer speak before. That sounds like it, at least in my opinion. So, with that being said, especially with all the unanswered questions from William Schenk's character in Spiral, it would not surprise me that if this young man that we see talking to John Kramer in this set photo is William Schenk. Another reason why this could be very, very possible is, keep in mind this, everyone. Spiral was supposed to be released in 2020. Due to the global pandemic, the movie got pushed back 1 year to 2021. Well, in the dialogue where Schenk is explaining himself to Zeke Banks, Chris Rock's character, he tells Zeke, I've been basically having your back for 15 years. Since the night your partner killed my father. Let's do the math. 15 years, 2020. Subtract 15 off of 2020, that would be 2005. Saw 2 was released in 2005. This movie is apparently supposed to be set between Saw 1 and Saw 2, the events of Saw 1 and Saw 2. So, it would make perfect sense that if in this set photo, if this is a young William Schenk, because then it would tie this Saw movie into Spiral, and now maybe we could get some more answers on this character, and obviously how he came across John Kramer, and maybe how he learned how to build the traps, and maybe who else is helping him. Now, I don't think that we'll get that far into detail in this movie. I do think that we will have another spin-off, maybe another, Spiral. I don't know if they'll call it Spiral again or what. But I do think that we will get another movie with adult William Schenk, and hopefully Zeke Banks' character, and hopefully we can get Chris Rock back for that. But I do think that what this movie will be, if this young man turns out to be a young William Schenk, this could be somewhat of a prequel for the William Schenk character. This could be serving as a prequel to the William Schenk character. You know, I definitely do think that this young man could be potentially a young William Schenk. Now, once again, this is just speculation. Obviously, we are too far away from the movie. We don't have any real confirmation on anything. But I do think that this is a really, really interesting set photo that we have here of John Kramer speaking to this young man. And this is another thing we have to keep in mind as well, everyone, is that John Kramer lost a son. Well, we know that William Schenk's father was murdered. We don't know whatever happened to his mother. So for all we know, obviously William was left parentless. We know that John Kramer has had a knack for taking people under his wing. What if he saw this young man, William Emerson. William Emerson is his real name because William Schenk was his alias. But William Emerson, what if he took William Emerson in and basically groomed him from a young man? William Emerson at the time of Spiral was 27 years old, so back in 2005 he would have been 12 years old. So what if from the time William was 12, what if John Kramer, unbeknownst to everybody, Amanda, even Jill, what if he took William in under his wing and basically helped raise him and slowly but surely showed him how to build traps, showed him how to basically do what he does? It's not impossible, especially being that we saw what we saw in characters like Amanda Young and characters like Logan and characters like Detective Mark Hoffman. Like, it's not impossible to think at all that John Kramer could have possibly seen, especially with this young man, being that he lost a son of his own. He could have easily looked at William as, his son and decided that, I'm going to, raise this young man. He doesn't have any parents. He's lost. He's alone in this world. And this could be, the character growth and the explanation behind the William Schenk character, and give us some context on how he knew about the traps and also how he knew about John Kramer. Once again, guys, that dialogue, when I think about that dialogue in Spiral, when he says about John Kramer was right, Spiral, the symbol of change, evolution, and progress. Again, guys, that just sounds like to me somebody who had direct conversation with John Kramer. And I cannot wait to keep going down these rabbit holes, and when more clues come out, I'm excited for this movie. We are basically still a whole year out, but it doesn't matter. I'm really excited for this. Crazy enough, I'm excited to see tobinbell back in the Saw franchise as John Kramer. I've said it before that I was iffy about them bringing back this character because they've done so much with this character. What else can you do? Well, if this young man, it turns out to be a young William Emerson / William Schenk, well, then there goes the answer to that question, because now you have a whole nother story to tell, not only with this new character William Emerson, but with John Kramer potentially being the one who was raising him after his father was killed. Definitely going to be interesting to see how this movie plays out, and to see that if this set photo turns out to be what I think it is, and that this young man is a young William Emerson / William Schenk, and this could be a tie-in with the Spiral movie, and this could also be something that we could lead into future, sequels of, Spiral. Like, again, I don't know if they're going to call it Spiral, but basically future movies that follow adult William Emerson and obviously Zeke Banks' character even further. But okay, everyone, that is it for this video. Leave a comment below and let me know your thoughts on this set photo. Let me know if you're excited for Saw X and the return of John Kramer / tobinbell, as well as let me know, do you think that this young man could potentially be William Schenk, and that we could be getting a prequel to this character's storyline? Once again, this is I Shot Him 6 Times, YouTube horror movie channel. Once again, I'm your host, Marcus. Please be sure to shoot that like button and subscribe to the channel. So shoot that notification icon so you get all the latest content updates to the channel. Be sure to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Patreon. Thank you all for watching.